Why is recovery from ransomware so hard? Well, one of the reasons is the magnitude of the recovery effort. So if you think about most recoveries, they come in really one of two types. The most common is you've got a bunch of files out here and a user deletes a file. So he calls you up, says, hey, I need to recover this file. You pull up your backup software, you find the file that needs to be recovered, and you recover the file. Pretty quick, pretty easy, especially with modern backup applications. Now, at the other end of the spectrum is an entire server is wiped out for one reason or another, as would be the case here where we just lost our whole SQL server, and then everything has to come back. Now, obviously that's a little bit more time consuming than just recovering one file, but if you think about it, you replace the server, you put a new storage device in, and then in the backup system, you just find the latest copy of that SQL server and recover it. So while time consuming, there's not a lot of work that needs to happen there once you identify the file. Now what makes ransomware so different is that if you kind of think about it, what happens is it sort of requires all these files to be recovered. While not deleted, they're encrypted, so to you, they might as well not even be there. And so the first thing you got to do is figure out which of these files need to be recovered, and then you have to manually recover those files. So it's a much more detailed process. And so what you need to do is have a backup application that will allow you to do a couple of things, right? So I've got a couple of different targets drawn up here. I have disk and tape. Some backup applications will allow you to also manage snapshots of your file server. So what you want to do is find the best, fastest, but least infected copy of the data. So in most cases still today, that's going to be your snapshot. And then what you need to be able to do is have your backup software feed you what files have actually changed. And so a good backup application should be able to do that. So then you have to identify those files and recover them back. Now the last step that's really important is you really have to watch the recovery effort to make sure that there's not an infection still laying there, right? So it's not like the SQL case that I showed earlier where you can pretty much start to restore, walk away, and come back when the restore is done. Here you kind of got to keep your eyes on it to make sure files aren't being re-encrypted as you're restoring them. So that's really the key there. And so by doing this, by having a backup application that can help you identify encrypted files, that can also leverage a variety of different backup devices ranging from snapshots to tape to disk, will really help you. Then one last thing on tape. I drew that in there because the other thing we want is essentially a disconnected copy of data. Because if all of this fails and everything gets corrupted, the nice thing about tape is nothing can touch it. It's set aside, safe on a shelf. So you want to have all your options available to you. So armed with those capabilities, recovery from ransomware is actually not that hard. You just got to make sure you have all the weapons at your disposal. I'm George Crump, lead analyst with Storage Switzerland. Thank you for joining us.